All right, I want to save you some embarrassment and let you at least get to know the different parts of your instrument so that when someone's referring to you change your tuning pegs or change your strings, or that's probably because of your bridge, you know what in the world they're talking about. So first of all, we've got a couple different kinds of stringed instruments. We've got bowed strings like violin, cello, viola, where you would use a bow to make the strings vibrate. And then we have the plucked or the strummed stringed instruments, and those are the ones where you would pluck the strings or strum the strings in order to make them vibrate. So we're going to kind of set aside the bowed stringed instruments and just focus on the strummed string instruments, which would include banjo, ukulele, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and bass guitar. And those are the ones we're going to focus on for today. So let's start here at the top. At the very top, we've got something called the headstock. That's like the chunk of wood usually at the top that's going to hold all of the tuning pegs and the tuning keys, all of the stuff that has to do with the tuning of your guitar. So that's the headstock on any instrument. Let me show you the headstock of a couple other ones. So the banjo, this is the headstock on a banjo. Looks like that. In this one, the tuning pegs are actually back behind. That's not always the case with all the banjos. And then on the bass guitar, you'd have the headstock that looks like that. And so we've got the tuning keys, the tuning pegs, all on the top part, the headstock, the chunk of wood there at the top. And then we've got the tuning keys. Let's go ahead and go to this one here. I've got a lot of guitars to choose from here. So the tuning keys are these parts right here, the flat parts usually that you would twist around, like you would twist a key in a door. So that part I usually get confused with the tuning pegs. I get those names mixed up all the time. The peg is actually the peg where you're going to wrap the string around in order to tune the guitar. I'll give you a close-up look at that. That's the tuning pegs, and then these are the tuning keys here. And then after that, we have something called the nut. And let me go to the ukulele for this one. So the nut it looks like it's the first fret. So the frets are these metal things. We'll talk about those in a second. And so this right here looks like it's just the same as all the other metal lines that are here. But if you look really closely, you'll find that it's usually made out of plastic on strummed string instruments and wood on bowed string instruments. And that's just where the string is getting lifted up a little bit, so it's not laying flat on the neck of your instrument. So if we didn't have a nut there, then it would probably the string would be wound around the tuning peg, and then it would get stretched down here to the bridge. We'll talk about that in a second too. And then it would just lay flat against the neck, the fretboard. So the nut just kind of lifts it up a little bit. It gives you a little bit of space so that you can press your fingers down on the different frets. So then we are kind of already got to this, the metal parts that go across here underneath the strings, those are called frets. Now, we'll talk about this more in other lessons, but when we say that we're going to put our finger on a fret, that's not quite the case. We're actually going to put our finger really close to the fret, but not quite on it. So, like on the first fret would be like right there. And then when we say on the first fret, what we really mean is right there, right next to the first fret. But this one right here would be the first fret. This is not a fret. That's the nut. So that's the first fret right there, then the second fret, and the third fret. And then we have these little markers on the side too, and the ukulele is really convenient to show to you. We've got these little tiny dots here. And then you've also got dots that are frequently on the actual neck right there. So you can see I've got like a little decoration right there, a little decoration right there. Let me show you on some other instruments here. Most of the strummed string instruments have this. So then on this one, it's like a little design right there, little design right there. It looks like it's just for decoration. And like I said, most of these strummed stringed instruments have this, or the plucked string instruments like you would pluck a bass. So you've got a dot right here, a dot right here, and you've got the dots on the side. So these are actually position markers, and these tell you what fret you're on, because sometimes you need to jump to like the 4th fret, or let's say the 6th fret. Well, having to count all the way from the bottom, 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret, that takes a long time. So the way this works is the dots usually go on the odd number frets. Nope, the dots always go on the odd number frets. So there's a dot right there, there's a decoration right there. You probably don't need a decoration on the 1st fret because you can probably find the 1st fret pretty easily, hopefully. But I've seen guitars that have a decoration on or a position marker on the first fret. So that'll just tell you that's the first fret, and then so they usually start at the third fret, or some of them even start at the fifth fret because they assume like you could find the third fret pretty easily just by looking at it, like that's the third fret. So that'd be the third fret, and then the fifth fret, and then the seventh fret, and then the ninth fret. So it's all the odd numbers all the way through. Let me show you that on a different instrument. On the acoustic guitar, we've got this one here so this one actually starts on the fifth fret. There's no decoration you can see on that third fret. So they just assume when they're making this one, yeah, you can find the third fret pretty easily. Definitely the first fret, probably the third fret. Where you really start to need help is on the fifth fret. So if you need to go to the sixth fret, you would just count up. You'd count, if it had a dot right here, the third fret and the fifth fret, and you go one over. So that kind of helps you out with that. Now, they all also have some kind of special decoration on the 12th fret, which is not an odd number. And you might notice there's kind of a weird gap here because we got the 5th fret, the 7th fret, the 9th fret, and then you should have the 11th fret, but they don't have anything on the 11th fret, and they do have on the 12th fret. That's because when we start talking about the letter names on plucked or strummed string instruments, the 12th fret is a really important one. It's and the point at which you're playing an octave higher than the open string. Those words don't have to make sense for right now. Just know that the 12th fret is kind of an important thing to be able to jump to while you're playing. So they assume that if they put double dots on the 12th fret, so you can know this is the octave point, this is where you can jump ahead, then you could go one fret back from there and know that that's the 11th fret. So they put them on sometimes the first fret, very rarely, but frequently the third fret, definitely the 5th, 7th, 9th, and then 12th. And then after that, they would do the same thing. So after the 12th fret on this one, they put one on the 3rd fret away from the 12th because this is kind of like the starting over point. So like we would have over here the 3rd fret, they put one on the 3rd fret, and then the 5th fret, and then the 7th fret. But on this one, like that, you're kind of running out of room at that point. So you're not really going to be playing very much up there. So again, those are the frets and the position markers that tell you what fret numbers you're playing. This whole thing right here has several different names, sometimes called the fingerboard because it's where your fingers are going to play. It's sometimes called the fretboard because it's the board that the frets are on, and then sometimes just referred to as the neck. So depending on like what you're referring to, your finger movements or the frets, or if you're referring to just like it's standing up, like looks like the neck. So sadly, the lesson preview has come to an end, and it's time to say goodbye to everyone watching the free streams. Of course, paying subscribers at learnpianolive.com can continue watching this lesson and several hundred others like it in the archives. So come on over and check us out, and if you like what you saw, at least like and subscribe, and then tell your friends to head on over to learnpianolive.com to start enjoying this journey with us.